Hey everyone, this is Heather Picken, and welcome to the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Global Summit. I don't know about you, but I'm on fire, and I'm inspired every single day to really help women entrepreneurs, and that is really the huge part of this global summit. So if you found this to be helpful, please hashtag WOFE, Woman on Fire Entrepreneur, and share your stories, how this has helped you, and your golden nuggets of information that you want to share with people. And today I want to share actually my guest that I'm really excited about. Her name is Milteer, and she's an internationally known and celebrated entrepreneur, visionary, best-selling author, and award-winning professional speaker. She's also a TV personality and intuitive business mentor. And she provides business and success advice and resources to nearly 250,000 people around the world. She's the founder of the Millionaire Smarts coaching program, which supplies coaching and other coaches, which supplies coaching for other coaches and businesses. She also partners with GKIC, that's Glazer Kennedy Inner Circle, and runs the Peak Performance Implementation Coaching Program for entrepreneurs. She's also hosted the America's Premier Experts TV show, which was aired on NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox affiliates. She also hosts the Untamed Success. It's a positive TV, which is a monthly web-based TV show. And Lee speaks all over North America and Europe in conventions, private companies, and entrepreneurial and niche marketing events. She's also the president of Lee Milteer Incorporated Career Development Strategists. She has counseled and trained, this is pretty impressive, more than 1 million people in her speeches. Her presentations are so effective that organizations such as Walt Disney, AT&T, Xerox, IBM, Ford Motor Company, NASA, Federal Express, 3M, Sales and Marketing Executive International, plus hundreds of government agencies and scores of conventions, associations, meetings, and niche market events repeatedly retain her to inspire and motivate their audiences. And folks, that's not even half of her bio. I mean, it's amazing what she's done. She's shared the stage with a lot of influential people today, and I just go to her site. You can learn more about her programs or products or books. She's got tons of resources there. If you go to milteer.com, I'm going to spell that for you, MILTEER.com, and there's also going to be a link below this interview so that you can just click on that, make it easy for you. Now, I love this subject, what we're going to be talking about today. It is about tapping into your intuition to use it for business. How many times have you not trusted yourself when it comes to your business? Should I make this decision? Should I not? You go back and forth and you oscillate around about it. And Lee is the go-to expert. So Lee, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much, Heather. I'm very excited about being here with you today.
Yeah, and I was wondering, let's just kind of dive right into this, because I know women entrepreneurs, they get really stuck when it comes to trusting themselves, investing in themselves. Should I go down this path? What should I do? They're confused. So could you kind of walk us, well, actually, first, tell us a little bit about what intuition is and what intuition is not. I think let's just start there.
Okay, well, intuition really is that little whisper in your ear where you get information, and it is not always logical. Scientists say it's matching dots in your head with memory, that certain dots match up and you get this hit that this is the right thing for you, because you recognize things from your life, because you remember everything from all of your 5 senses since you were born. So everything you've ever been exposed to, your subconscious mind records, because you're made of more than just flesh and blood. You're made of 4 volts of electrical chemical current, and that 4 volts of electrical chemical current creates grooves in your brain, which creates reference pictures. And so when you ask yourself a question, this is the greatest way to tap into your intuition. You literally ask yourself a question such as, what would be the most beneficial, way for me to go wherever you are right now? What is the most beneficial? And if you just keep asking the question, your brain literally goes into search in your brain for all your files in your brain, and it tries to match the dots of what you're asking and what the correct answer is. And I also believe that we collectively are all united, that we are not single individuals. We literally are part of a super consciousness, and that you have access to information that you don't even know you have access to. So that's a very small version, and we all have our own intuition hits, like, oh, I think I should take my umbrella with me today, but it's sunny, it's beautiful, there's not any call for rain, and then you don't take it and it pours. Or you're trying to hire someone and they have a fantastic resume and they, on paper look golden. But there's this nagging little feeling inside of you that something's not right, something's amiss, something's off. But we often bypass that whisper because we're so trained to operate from our left brain logical mind of, well, the resume was good and the references were good, and I could tell you hundreds of stories about, don't trust resumes, don't trust references, really trust your gut about things. And what intuition isn't is that it's going to give you the full story. That you're going to ask a question and suddenly you're going to know from A to Z all the information you need to know. It doesn't work like that. Intuition works in small bits of information. So, Heather, you might get intuition about calling a certain person you want to interview, and then it'll come like just this little whisper of or just something that interests you, and if you don't take action on it right away, that intuition dissipates. So the secret of getting really good information is always then asking more questions, researching what you got, because it's almost like a puzzle piece, intuition, that you don't see the whole big picture, but you see little pathways. It's like little breadcrumbs, and you follow the little breadcrumbs, and then the more you ask, the more you go into it, the more intuition you get, and also the more you trust your intuition, the more accurate you become. So I have a program called Intuition, the New Common Sense, an audio program, and I always tell people to prepare to create better intuition is to ask yourself things that have no meaning, no money value, that you're not attached to in the slightest. Like standing in front of a group of elevators, and there's 4 elevators there, asking yours, which one's going to come for me? Or the phone rings and ask yourself, who's on the phone? In the beginning, you're not going to be very good at it, but as you start training your mind to focus in on what is the correct answer, your brain now goes, oh, we're opening up that level of connection between ourselves and a much larger collection of information, so you can read. Also, people gather information in different ways. For instance, I don't necessarily see things, but I feel things. And so if my stomach starts to hurt when I'm in a situation, I know I'm not in the right place. I'll tell you guys a great story. Years ago, there was a great financial advisor in my hometown, got a lot of PR. Some of my friends had used him. He had made them a significant amount of money, and they were very hooked on him and recommended I go see him. And I go, and he's in this very impressive office in a very tall building, and all the accoutrements of success. And I sat down in front of him, and I felt instantly something was very wrong, that there was something incongruent about him that I couldn't put my fingers on. And the hair in the back of my neck kind of stood up a little bit. My stomach started to hurt. I felt anxious. And it wasn't just about investing money. It was really, I just didn't feel comfortable with this person. So he told me his presentation and all the things he could do. But again, there was this uncomfortable feeling. And so I didn't invest with him. I left his office, and 3 months later he was indicted for fraud for one of those pyramid schemes where he had stolen like $10 million from very large individuals in my area. And you know, that was a very big wake-up call for me, that I was so proud of myself that my body alerted me to danger, whereas my left brain conscious mind was screaming, oh, you're missing this opportunity to make a lot of money. This guy has made, you know, everybody so much money. But because of my life experience, I've learned that if I don't listen to my intuition, it will cost me money, it will cost me heartache, it will cost me time. Another story that I had that was very impactful to me was a safety story. Years ago, there was a serial killer in New York and New Jersey killing stewardesses and flight attendants. And it was all over the news, and he was in a cab. And I arrived at the Newark airport. I waited in line with everybody else with all. The gentleman who was helping with the cab got me into the cab, and I remember I entered from the right. And as I sit, and the guy was, I didn't see him, and he was putting my luggage in the back of the car. And as soon as he sat in the cab, my body broke out in goosebumps. The hair rose up. I couldn't breathe. I felt such fear of him. And, you know, the right lady thing to do was just, you know, move past that. Let, you know, don't interfere with anybody else's business, or you know, other people were lined up, and we was going to cause chaos getting out of this cab. But I literally looked once at him and slid out of the car, told the guy who got me the cab, please retrieve my luggage. I refuse to be in the cab with this man. He got so mad, the cab driver, that he started screaming at everybody, threatened me, took my luggage out of the back of my car, stomped on it, and then took off. And I have no idea if he was the murderer, but I will tell you that every fiber in my being told me I was in danger. But women, our problem is that we've been so programmed not to cause waves, not to speak up, not to bring attention, you know, that something might be wrong, not to just follow the program. And I just want to tell you that I could tell you 100 other stories, but your intuition is part of your instinct, and you were born with this instinct. And about when technology came about, what has happened is technology is now bypassing instincts, because we're being so programmed to follow instructions and not pay attention to cues in the world of success things. It shuts you down. That my father was a rancher and a farmer, and I grew up on this huge farm, and we of course watched the weather at night, but we really did discern a great deal when it was the right time to bring animals in, when they were going into labor, and that was all intuitive. When was the perfect time to do certain things with crops? So my father's thing for me was never listen to outside experts. You listen to that God-given talent called your instincts, your gut, over anything and everything. And that was the greatest. And my father also said that, you know, experts are a dime a dozen, that you can get expert advice, but only if it is congruent with what your gut says. And so I've made, you know, even though I had this training, I've still screwed up and made horrible mistakes. I paid a guy a lot of money one time to give me a best-selling title. Not so much. I'm sure he thought it was going to be a best-selling title, but you know, we don't have time to go into that hilarious story. But what I've learned now is I still go to coaches. I am a coach, and I always tell my people when I get intuitive hits for them, I say, look, feel this out for yourself. I will tell you what I think, what I've learned, the knowledge I have, but your real job is to discern, is this right for you right now? Because timing is everything. And women entrepreneurs sometimes forget that what's good 2 weeks ago on social media, may not be good a month from now. And so that everything that you do in marketing, everything that you do with your clients, all your investments that you make, do this gut check. I call it the head, heart, gut check. Does it logically make sense? Does it feel congruent? Does it line up with what I believe to be true in the world? So that's the head. My heart, is this right for me? I've been in business a very long time. People are always offering me all kinds of deals and specials, and half of my business just to help them with it. But my heart is very clear that we promote Lee Milteer Inc. I'm not interested in running a modeling company. I'm not interested in running other people's marketing companies. My heart tells me to be true and have integrity with my own business. And to promote myself, I don't have to promote other people just because I'm good at it. And then the gut check. When things come to me, does it feel right? Does it feel true? Does it have integrity? Does my body want to go along with the program? And so we've all experienced this, like you agree to something and then you have those regrets. And that's not just second guessing yourself sometimes. That's actually something higher and bigger trying to warn you. Maybe you really, shouldn't be so quick to agree to things. So I tell all my personal clients that when there's an offer made to them, wait 24 hours. Wait 24 hours. Anybody who pushes you that, it's only for 5 minutes or, you're not going to get this tomorrow, I'm very reluctant to fall into the trap of what is called the takeaway deal. People sell things with the takeaway process of, oh, if you don't get this now, you won't get this price. Well, maybe that's true occasionally, but for the most part, unless when someone pitches me something, it feels so right to me that second. But I like to give myself time to have the head, heart, gut check. And if people would just write that down, and that also means when you don't know what to do, if it doesn't feel right, don't make a decision. And never, ever, ever, ever make decisions in an unresourceful state of mind. Because when you make decisions out of fear that you're going to miss out, or if you make decisions from you're running away from something. I'll give you an example. I primarily deal with really high-end entrepreneurs in my coaching business. So it's normally CEOs of large companies. And last week I dealt with this very successful lawyer who's 72 years old, super successful, and he keeps telling me, he's been in divorce law and he's just really over it. He says nobody wins in divorce law, everybody's unhappy, and he wants to go into something else. And then my intuition said that really wasn't true, that he was actually running from something. He wasn't being attracted to the new, what I call part 3 of his life, the third act of his life. He was so repelled from what he was doing that he goes, oh, I think I want to be a coach. Well, Heather, you're a coach. Coaching takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. I mean, there's no easy push buttons for coaching. And my intuition really was very strong about that's really not true. That's not what he really wants to do. That's what he thinks in his left brain that he can do. And because he can teach other lawyers how to teach something he hates. So, women would laugh at this, like, why do you want to go into a field teaching something that you absolutely hate? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. No women would ask me that question. Yeah. But intuition is this underutilized skill that can make you a lot of money or cost you a lot of money, but you really have to nurture it. So I've talked so much, you haven't even asked me any questions, but
no, I love it. This is such a great conversation, and let's just kind of backtrack a little, because I think it's really important for our viewers to learn, really, because part of this summit is breaking through, becoming unstoppable. So I know it wasn't always easy, right, being a woman entrepreneur. So if you could take us back to a moment when you first started your business and really realizing how this intuition played a part in making powerful decisions in your business.
Well, as I said, I grew up as a rancher's daughter, firstborn. My father wanted a boy, and so he pretty much raised me as a boy. So I was this kick-ass Tom girl. And what happened for me is when I was in high school, I had an opportunity to become a rock and roll disc jockey. And I lied to the radio station and told them I was 19 instead of 17, and I got an adult job as a rock and roll wild woman disc jockey at 17 years old in high school. And what that did for me was expose me to sales. And so I didn't make very much money as a rock and roll disc jockey. We had a great time, but not a lot of money. And the sales manager came to me one day and he said, "I'd like for you to try sales." Now, sales were a natural for me because my father said no to everything, and I learned to negotiate and influence him that I wanted things, and I became very, very good at influencing, and no meant nothing to me. Zero. No was just the beginning of the sale. That if I want something, I can influence you into it. And so from that, I went into sales, and from that sales career, there was a message from the universe, and I call it the universe sending you hints. And it wasn't even a whisper. I'm in sales, and I'm constantly getting people saying to me, "You know, you should be a professional speaker. You should train people in sales. You should write a book." And I'm thinking, what are you, insane? I could hardly write a school, term paper. I'm not going to write a book. And what the hell are you talking about? I can be a professional speaker. I mean, I had no clue that the universe kept seeding me with hints of where my life should go. And that was really my intuition being displayed from the external world back to me. It was a mirror back to me that the universe kept saying to me, and I have a metaphysical background, as you can tell. The universe kept saying to me, you should really look into this direction. But I argued with it. I discounted it. I did the average thing the average woman does. Who, me? Oh, I don't feel qualified to do that. Well, I don't know any other professional women speakers, and I hated school. I don't want to write. And just all the excuses of why I couldn't do the big vision that other people saw for me that I did not see for myself. You with me?
Yeah.
And what happened was, and I had from the radio business, I went into electronics. I actually was an electronic salesperson. I sold big airports and office buildings, all the speaker systems and telephone systems, all this technical stuff that in a million years I would have never guessed I would have been great at doing. And I did nothing but work for men. And so from that, I went into commercial real estate. And commercial real estate, I really didn't like it, but I went in it for the wrong reason. I went in it for money. And when we only work just for money, we're going to work 10 times harder. It's going to be much more arduous. But all my friends were in commercial real estate. They were making all this money. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. That'll be easy. But here's where the universe came in and helped me. So as my life is going along, I'm in commercial real estate and didn't particularly like it. I get this opportunity to give a speech about certain things in commercial real estate. And amazingly enough, that speech was phenomenal. People in the audience started asking, well, could I come to their businesses and train their staff? The local community college asked me if I would come do a course in selling just for women, which I did, made $182. I remember that clearly. And I framed that first thing. But it was one of these things where my intuition kept triggering other people to tell me about what I was really born to do. You see, if we do in life what our own natural talents are, we will do them well, we will do them with ease, and doors open for you. When we fight and try to do what other people said, your father's a lawyer, you should be a lawyer, or your family is in the music business, so you should do this, you should do that. So there's a difference between what I call programmed messages and what I call universal or intuitive messages. Are you with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So After I was in commercial real estate for a while and more people started asking me speaking, I suddenly realized that I needed to leapfrog into trying this. And so with absolutely no training, never been to a speaking course, never read a speaking book, never had coaching, I went one day to the printing shop in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and had cards printed up that said Lee Milteer, professional speaker. And I quit the real estate business and I entered into the professional speaking business. And I will tell you, that was probably a stupid thing to do, but I made it. It was a struggle, but I did make it, and I made it very, very big in it because my natural talent is reading an audience intuitively. So if I start talking about something and I can feel the audience not resonating with it, you just shift to something that they resonate with. You, as a interviewer, know exactly what I'm talking about. And so my intuition today as a coach, as a professional speaker, and as an author, I listen to that over everything else. In fact, anybody at my office says we should do something, and I say, well, I have to check with my intuition on that before we do that. And I've taught my staff very much to read in between the lines, not to listen to just what people tell you, but does it resonate true? Is there integrity here? Can it hold water? So my life has been one of many experiences of if I don't listen to my intuition, it's not pretty. But now in business, I actually put on my website Intuitive Business Coach, and I was afraid to do that because it's so out of business success.
Right.
It's not the corporate thing. And interestingly enough, when I did that, when I started calling I was doing really well as a regular, are you ready? Performance and productivity coach. All right, I was doing really well with that because I had all these huge clients. But when I really became more transparent of who I really was versus the, what you're supposed to be like to make everybody like you and do business with you, when I became more authentic, that's the word I'm looking for, my business exploded because I tell the truth. And I am not afraid of telling the truth, and I don't sugarcoat anything, and I will tell anybody anywhere that's bullshit if it is bullshit. And so huge CEOs found me because I have a little bit of an advantage. I've written a lot of books. My 12th book is getting ready to come out. It's called Reclaim the Magic, How to Manifest Anything You Want. It'll be out this spring of April of 2015, and you'll be able to get it on Milteer.com if you like, or Amazon, or anywhere. But the big book that I have that has really brought me so much business is called Success is an Inside Job, and it's been in its 12th printing. And that book, because I share so much, I'm so authentic in the book. I talk about what I failed at, what I succeeded at. But success really is an inside job. It's not a cliche. That is, women, if we will just stop trying to be men, if we will stop trying to model men who have, I'm going to digress for it. Women, just so you know, we have such an advantage over men in reality because we access reality from 4 modalities. We access from mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual modality all at the same time. That is why we're great multitaskers. That's why we can, have kids in one arm and typing in the other arm and phone calls, and we can do all these things at one time. Men operate from 2 modalities in life, physical and mental. And that is why women are naturally better business entrepreneurs than men. It's just what holds women back is leapfrogging to that next level of possibility. Just saying, I'm going to do it, and the worst thing that can happen to me. Now, by the way, this is all systems go. Head, heart, gut. All systems have to be go before you do that big leap. But if you really, in your heart, soul, and head, and you can logistically, and you have proven to yourself this can work, you have to take the leap. Because when you take small risk, you get small reward. When you take big risk, you can get big reward. Now, I'm not saying you can't fail, because I failed a lot, My failures have always led me to a much bigger picture. And the doors of the universe only open for you when you take a big risk. They don't open for people who play small, who kind of wait, prove it to me, prove it to me. The doors of the universe of big time money, big time living, do not open for bullshit effort. So, ladies, I'm just going to tell you something. I did public seminars for women for 6 years. I did 100 cities a year. So that's 600 public seminars for women from 9 to 4. And I've heard every question, every excuse, and my answer was always the same. This is your journey. And, you can't let anybody else determine your journey but you. You have to decide the path you want to go on. But the main thing you have to do is really leverage your natural talents. So when I was a kid, my nickname was Motormouth. All right? In high school, every contest they had on speaking, I won. Anything and everything about communications, I am naturally talented. Don't ask me to be your tech person, okay? Don't ask me to be the domestic queen. I'm not good at any of that stuff. That little slice of pie in life that I was born with of natural talents is communication and speaking and intuition. And I capitalize every minute of my day on those talents. So before we got started today, you saw my assistant hooking up everything. Because I'm a woman who only focuses on my talents. I don't do anything that's not in my wheel of talent. So I have assistants, and I have helpers, and I have people who support me. Now, it didn't start like that, but my intention in life was always that I needed help to do what I do. And so my first assistant was a mother who had left the corporate world, who only wanted a part-time job between 10 a.m. and 3 a.m., and she was just hot to get out of the hell out of the house. And so I hired part-time assistants, and they were so excited about, my work and what I was doing, and then I paid them practically nothing because they wanted work, they wanted to get out of the house. So it was a win-win for everybody. And I know that has nothing to do with intuition, other than my intuition told me that I will never make it as a single person, that I am a woman who has talent, but I need support to make sure I can present that talent in the most high and best way. And so we all got to listen to that internal message, because that is so true.
It's so truly, and as you were speaking, one of the things that really jumped out at me, and I know this is prevalent for a lot of women entrepreneurs, is not really being true to themselves. Like, they've got this big mission and purpose, like you just said about being the business intuitive, but they don't want to put themselves out there for fear of what people say. So do you think that because they're doing that they're holding themselves back from making more money?
Oh gosh, yes, because if you're like everybody else, okay? If you're like everybody else, you're a commodity. What makes you different? So you and I are big into hair, I can tell. And so for the longest time, people are always like, oh, you need to cut your hair. Why? When I walk into a room of male entrepreneurs, I am one of the very few women in the room. I wear red suits, red cowboy boots, and tons of jewelry with this long hair, and I speak my truth. And I get more work than I can possibly do, because they cannot not forget Lee Milteer. That's what you got to have there, gals. You got to have this wow factor about you where you're like, I know my stuff. And this is what I'm talented in, and I know my stuff. And as you said, my resume, I'm a resume builder, Heather. So every year I think to myself, what new products do I need to create? What new book do I need to write? What media do I need to be on? Who do I need to connect myself with? Because this is the power of association. And so every year my goal is that my resume get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because when I go up against people, So if, like, for instance, Merrill Norman International Makeup last year called me, and they said, we heard about you, and they were considering like 25 women speakers. But when they got to my resume, and by the way, I am a dame. I am Lady Lee Milteer, and that was given to me a couple of years ago because of my contribution to mankind for rescuing animals. So I spent a massive amount of time. I can beg for money like nobody you've ever seen. And I spent all this time begging for money from big corporations to rescue all these horses and dogs and cats and animals. And so because of my resume, I got the job like that. Because I'm a formidable person to be in competition with, because I am building that resume, and names like Walt Disney, and those are not accidents. Those are because my intuition, and this is a very important thing, if your intuition tells you that you should call on a client, you better damn well call on that client within 2 hours. If there's a window of opportunity that client needs something or needs you, and if you wait and hesitate and decide, oh, I'm going to go to lunch, or I'm going to read the book, or I'm going to clean out a drawer, or other foolish, stupid behaviors like that, you will lose the gig. You must not only I'm so glad we came to this point, because intuition is like right now, and it's only good for right now. It's not getting intuition and it's good a week from now. That's not how intuition works. It can change. So even if you deal with professional psychics, and by the way, we're all very, very psychic. Women are extremely psychic. They're just afraid to say so. But like all my mentors were professional psychics. All my best friends were professional psychics. And I don't claim to be a professional psychic, or I would have won the lottery by now. But anyway, I will tell you that intuition it's just that thing, it's just for right now. So last week there was all this chaos with weather, and I'm traveling, I'm speaking, and so 4 airports go down, all our flights are canceled. I have the speaking gig, I have to be there, so I have to pull myself to, by the way, I'm silent, and I'm not listening to other people, and I'm not listening to programs what you should do, and I had to ask myself, okay, what should I do to make sure that I am on a flight that gets to where I want to go? What is it I need to do? And I had to separate myself so I'm not in fear, because I will not make good decisions in fear. I had to separate and really listen to that, and it's training to do that. You really have to train yourself to do it, because we've been trained not to do it. Women are trained to do what's acceptable to be approved. I'm telling you just the opposite. You don't have to be approved. I mean, people who do business with me know I am very, very, very outspoken. I will tell you like it is. And often people will come to me with great ideas. They think are great ideas. I'm like, holy God, please don't do that. I mean, that is going to be a disaster for you. And yes, it may look good on paper, and yes, other people have done it, but the timing has passed. That is no longer part of the energy field that works. And we're all part of this energy field. So your job is really to first love yourself enough, call in your power to know and listen to your own intuition, that God-given ability that everybody has. Be skeptical of other people's advice until it feels head, heart, gut, check, right. Don't just take any. I actually tell my audiences that I really don't trust hardly anybody. I only trust my intuition.
I love that. Yeah.
Because everybody has an agenda. So whether it's someone trying to sell you financial advice, or a condo, whatever they're I'm not saying these are bad people. Everybody has, there's fabulous, great salespeople in the world who are filled with integrity, but there's an agenda. Like religion has an agenda. The government has an agenda, and most of it is about power and who's in power and how to keep power. And this is why women are in the shape we're in today, because the powers to be are actually afraid of women, because we have intuition and we operate from 4 modalities. So you and I could talk all day about this, but
I know.
I really, because I know you have a big audience, I want you, everybody who's listening today, not only to work on your own intuition, but encourage your daughters to listen to their intuition about safety. One of the things my dad taught me that would be very helpful, speaking on the subject, is remember we grew up in this huge, big, isolated mile and a half from the nearest secondary road. So I'm in the middle of nowhere. I used to ride horses, and I still ride horses, but I would be by myself 25 miles from home at 9 years old through woods. And my father always said to me, he said, you always have to be extremely aware of your environment and pay attention to signals. If anything feels off, don't go in that direction. And so today, I don't have my cell phone in front of me, but I have a phone. People's face is in front of a phone walking across the street, not paying any attention, just assuming that the person in the car is not going to hit them. We have given up power to stupid electronic devices and doing what other people say to do. And I'm saying pay a lot of attention to meetings where, like my favorite shows are like Sherlock Holmes and Elementary and things like that, where it's the power of observation. So the more that you observe in life, the better. I'll give you an example. This past weekend I was at a big speaking engagement, and there was this spiritual person who spoke, but there was something very incongruent about him that no one in the room noticed but me, and I'm positive of that. At the end, he sold something. And he talked about his higher integrity, high integrity, higher integrity. But what he sold, you could only buy in cash. Now, that meant to me that I get to pay my taxes, and you get to pay your taxes, but this dude had decided, Miss Spirituality, that he was going to get all of his back of the end of products in cash because, and these were all business people, they didn't have any cash. I mean, they have credit cards. Everybody uses credit cards, so it was a write-off. But so I noticed that immediately. I thought, Mr. Integrity is not so full of integrity, that incongruency. So from the moment I noticed that, I could tell you 10 other incongruent things about this man because I was aware enough to pay attention. I asked 4 or 5 other people in the room, did you notice anything different or unusual about him? They didn't notice anything, thought he was funny, and he was hilarious. He was very, very funny. But underneath that, he's cheating on his taxes.
Wow.
So even though he speaks one thing, there's a whole different agenda going on in the back.
Definitely. Totally get that.
And nobody else noticed. There was 150 people in the room. Nobody said anything. I even said to the promoter, by the way, I'm confused. There's a real incongruency between what he said and what he did about the cash thing. So that's just a little fun example, but you can find those things in your life. Unfortunately, most of our population lies, and you have to be able to start to discern what is truth and what is not truth. There's a wonderful book by, I'm looking for it, I can't reach over there and get it. It's called Your Body Doesn't Lie by Dr. John Diamond. And it's all about kinesiology and muscle testing. And so I literally can talk to people and muscle test if they're telling me the truth. And so when people are pitching me things or applying for a job, because, applying for a job and resumes are hilarious these days, I'm actually testing if they are telling me the truth, because we're not really separate as human beings. We're all connected, and that means that we can access information that isn't visible, because again, success really is an inside job. You got to process and trust the internal part of yourself before you trust the agenda programming from other people.
It's so true. And Lee, I swear we could go on for hours and have this conversation, but I see that we're running out of time. And before we leave today, any final thought you want to leave on the women viewers on intuition?
I really want you to create an evidence book. And the evidence book is when you get a hit about something or a whisper, whatever you like to call it, write it down and see if it comes true. So, sometimes there are public officials you get, thoughts of, that guy's a crook, or that person is a really good person, or, I think that stock is going to rise, or I think it's going to fall, or I think those people are going to get divorced. Or, you're not even sure why you had this thought, but, just write it down, because when you go and evaluate that in a month, 3 months, 6 months, whenever you do that, you will be stunned at your ability to discern what is truth and what is not truth. At the same seminar, I saw this couple sitting next to each other who was the coach and his client. There is no question they are having an affair. I wrote it in my evidence book, and I have no attachment to this. It's none of my business. I'm not going to say a word. Not that they were kissing, but I could feel
the
incredible sexual chemistry between each other, and I knew they were having an affair. By the way, I checked on that this morning with people in the know. They're definitely having an affair. It's all bad for everybody.
Exactly.
But if you would just do that, folks, red flag, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire?
Yes.
If there is enough smoke, there is fire, and there is no such thing as a coincidence.
Absolutely.
There is no such thing. And I just believe if there's enough red flags, and here's where women get in really trouble. We don't want to see the red flags. So many years ago, I had a man cheating on me, and I really didn't want to see the red flags. I was traveling all the time. It just wasn't convenient, It wasn't convenient to acknowledge that I'm on the road all the time and this guy has another life. And but the red flags were there, and when it all came out, by the way, my assistant told me, that was lovely, by the way, being in Hawaii. By the way, your man's having an affair with another woman by the name of Lee, by the way.
Nice.
I already knew. I deeply already knew. I didn't know it was her name was Lee, but I knew something was wrong. Telltale signs that he could explain away, but that still didn't feel right. And this is like 20 years ago. But my joke used to be you couldn't beat this guy off with a broom. Well, apparently you could.
Very funny. Oh, such great stories, Leah. I swear we could have conversations for hours about this and using your intuition. So having the evidence book, and I encourage everyone to go to your site again. You go to milteer.com. There'll be a link right below the video. And Lee, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you, Heather. I will look forward to your entire thing. We'll tune in and watch everybody else.
Awesome. And I just want to thank everyone out there, all our viewers that are watching. Thank you so much for your support. Again, hashtag Women on Fire Entrepreneur. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.